Okay. Hey, everyone. It's me. It's Friday, and oh, God. It's a long work week. Uh, I mean, it's funny, moving here to San Diego and everything, there was a lot of build up to get to that point, and now we're here, and uh, trying to fill the time, right? You leave. I don't know. I left for like a week from work, and it felt like I left like 6 months. I come back, and the Friday before we were leaving to move from Seattle down here, we had a reorg, and of course, reorg brings new changes and everything, and um, my manager is out on vacation as well. I'm sorry, my managers has been out on vacation, so we're going to find out more on Monday. But right now, I find myself not flailing, but um, kind of in an in between place because I had one program that was doing something, and then I come back. The reorg has changed its focus a little bit. And for another, this thing I'm doing in Vegas, where I'll be there from the 6th through the 10th, I think, is now my. I already have a hotel room for the 10th, so yeah, I'll be there working. Unfortunately, I will not be partaking in a lot of the daytime festivities because I'll be triaging submissions that come in. If you're walking around at all in Vegas, if you happen to make your way over towards the Luxor, you may or may not see me there. Uh, I can't say more about that. I think if I may have mentioned it in earlier streams, but I digress and not want to mention too much more than that. So, if you've never been to Vegas, I've never been to Vegas for Hacker Summer Camp. I know that the event that I'm running is going to be roughly 2.5 days, so I'll have about a day and a half before I fly back to San Diego. But I'd love to see some of you if you are available. I know that's easier said than done. I don't know how a lot of people in Vegas do, but I hear that it's like, oh yeah, I was on my way to go see somebody and I saw someone else, and then I ended up having a discussion with person B, and oh shit, person A was completely left to the wayside. So, oh wait, we got a viewer. Welcome, a viewer. I will be talking about some security and stuff at some point. And maybe we won't do a little Rust because I'm not burnt out on Rust. I just did some Rust on Tuesday, so just to get down to that. Well, I did see somebody had, where was that? Um, it's one of those things. It's what is it? Black Hat is doink. So there's that. There we go. Black Hat is the 5th through the 10th. Okay, so I will be there during Black Hat, but I won't be at Black Hat. There we go. How do we do that? Beta Wolf, what did you do? Hey, Shaq Anatomy, how you doing? Glad you're here. Beg your pardon. It's 3 o'clock on a freaking Friday afternoon, and I've got people hitting me up for questions or not. Uh, Work-related questions. Do you have any information in attendance? If you can, you find out. Yep. First thing Monday. We can ask during the morning meeting. Yeah, hey, Shaq Anatomy. Hey, what's up? It was the middle of the night, and my elder husky woke me up by yelling at one of my puppies, and I got up in a way that pulled two muscles. Old people pull muscle like that, Beta Wolf. I'm not trying to say you're old, but Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, I have a sore back right now, and I have not done anything in about a week to do so. The only thing I can think of is maybe my body is telling me that I shouldn't stand all the time at work. Um, so I'm definitely going to have to invest, I think, in a chair or something, or maybe I'll just continue using my weight bench, which will remind me because it's like a throne. It's very uncomfortable. Oh, hit up acupuncture. I live in a strongly Asian community here in the San Diego area, and I doubt I'll be able to find an acupuncturist. I'm just kidding. I the problem I have with like getting $500 Herman Miller Arion, or one of those ones that'll massage your buttocks cheeks with heat and everything, is if the chair is too comfortable. One of the issues I had when I worked at CrowdStrike and I was working remotely from home, I could sit 8 hours a day in my chair, and in doing so, ballooned up to about 258 pounds. And when my scale starts yelling at me to get off of it, I realized I needed to make some changes. So, which is one of the reasons I started standing more often. And I want to do that. Yeah, I'm not. Hell no, I'm not going to pay $1,500 for that. You know how much money I've spent just in the office stuff that I have now? Yeah, a lot of money. Well, I mean, the desk was 450. The monitors were 300 a piece. The monitor mounts were, I think, another 50. You know, the yeah, I don't want to spend any more money if I don't want to have to. Yeah, well, that's why I've got the sit and stand desk, which is adjustable. So, if I decide I get tired and I want to, you know, go up, and then, I can do that. Or not. I actually got the server, my workstation is sitting on a rolling dolly, so that way when my desk rolls, it can roll with the dolly. I've set up yet another wireless network because my garage has really poor wireless connection. So, yeah, a lot. Anyway, all right, lock and close. Anyway, I'm at 5 figures for setting up my new place. Walt, good God, man. Yeah, between me and Copilot, yeah, I mean, we're getting rid of a bunch of stuff. My, oh, so I got my bookshelf. Got my bookshelf over there, which you can see off to the right. It's full of stuff. Oh yeah. Where is it? There we go. I got some cool, streamer stuff for like, cool streaming. Oh, you can't even see that. Damn. Hmm. Yeah, no. Okay. I have a little globe up there that glows and stuff. If I was standing up, you'd be able to see it. But yeah, I was just trying to figure the things out. I've got some LED lights that I may add for lighting effects and what have you. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what to do with my streaming at this point. I want to continue doing security, but I know that that's not everything. And like most white dudes, I like me some RPGs, and I like me some security, and I like doing other things. So, um, yeah, so trying to figure out what I should do, if I should have a separate stream for the gaming and stuff like that, which I already kind of had planned beforehand, but I'd like to branch out a little bit. Um, I get all these emails mentioning like, well, Beta Wolf, technically I still have a podcast. I just haven't put anything on the audio feed for about a month. I'm thinking about. I do need to figure out what I'm going to do with the audio podcast as well on that. So there's some things that are coming up in the next few months. Talking about training and things like that I want to do as well. So now that I'm a bit more stable, I can do that. I have some memorabilia from DerbyCon. I don't know if y'all remember Trevor. Trevor, our good friend Trevor. Trevor Forget, that kind of thing. So Trevor Forever. Trevor Forever. Is that what it is? There we go. There we go. Put Trevor up there on my microphone. But yeah, so Black Hat's happening. I thought I saw that somebody had posted up the source code for what was it? It was somebody had posted the source code. Let me go check. I think I posted it in our Slack. What was it? I find it funny that Slack is offering 50% off. There it is. Source. Oh, Black Lotus. Sorry, Black Lotus has been leaked on GitHub. UEFI boot kit. I think we talked about Black Lotus a little while ago. It bypasses secure boot on fully patched Windows 11 boxes, which, I'm completely secure in that respect. I'm only running Windows 10 on the server here, so I don't have to worry about that. But it is, unless they've disabled it from GitHub. Let me see, where is it? Okay. I bet they've, I'm surprised they haven't removed it. Okay, so if you want it, here it is, and you can follow along there. My acoustics have gotten better because, well, my office is full of shit, and you'd be surprised how much a bookshelf and various things absorb sound. So there's a lot to be said for having a lot of junk in your office. So, but I've been putting together a lot of things. If you counted by Allen wrench, the number of things I've had to put together, I have about 20 new Allen wrenches in my my toolbox. There, just putting things together like my bookshelf and my table and my desk, and I got my teleprompter up and running again. Seriously, I do want to do some more training. I just don't know what on, and I need to probably talk with some folks about what they'd like to see, because I've taken some classes on curriculum development, but haven't, with the move and everything, I haven't felt like I could physically do that. So my green screen's available in the corner. I've got my banner. I had a a banner that I'll probably put up on the walls and a couple things like that. So I'm still building out the studio, and we'll make that happen. So 72.9 is as low as my table goes. Okay. So let me see. It's written in C and x86 ASM assembly. Utilizes Windows API, Net API, NT API, EFI API. No third-party libraries used. That's impossible. Every piece of code has dependencies. I don't find that believable. No CRT, C runtime library. Compiled binary, including the user mode loader, is only 80 kilobytes in size. Uses secure HTTPS C2 communication by RSA and AES, and dynamic configuration. I wonder what the support contract is like for something like this. Seems like HVCI bypass. That's the hypervisors container. HVCI hypervisor container. Oh no, hypervisor protected code integrity. There you go. All right, so it does have a bypass for that. It has UAC, which is the box where it says, "Hey, do you want to run this or whatever?" UAC, yeah, user account control, and secure boot bypass, BitLocker boot sequence bypass. Ooh, Windows Defender bypass. It's got all the bypasses. It's very nice. I guess this would be good for a teaching tool. This is a bad person tool. This isn't a, red team offensive tool, which some folks are like, what the hell is this? Oh, there you go. I don't know what that is. Oh, I see. Okay. My bad. Sorry. There we go. This would be an excellent piece of software to look at if you wanted to see how exactly it's doing that. Here's the boot kit. Shows you the See, they've got define. Okay, so they've got different things they're defining here. Wow, they even have documentation. Look at that. Why doesn't somebody give these people a job? Oh, wait, they have a job. It's just, it makes more money than what they would get being paid, as a 100 week an hour, or 100 hour a week developer at some big company. Map the physical memory. Here you go. Allocate a non-paged pool to execute over. Copy over the buffer. Get main kernel ADDR. That's pretty sweet. I mean, they break it down line by line by line. That's pretty solid. I mean, I admire the persistence of folks. Here's your header files. That take the time to. I mean, every freaking line has a comment on it telling you exactly what it does. That's beautiful. I mean, how many pieces of code can you see that? Hey, Super Lolly, it's good to see you. How you been? Yeah, it's been a minute. I think the last time you were on, I was still in Seattle. So I'm working on my tan. If you haven't noticed, so I've got tan lines now, and I've got burn lines in other places because I've got places where there should not be sunlight on this body. So I've been going out at lunch when it's 80 degrees and the UV rating is like 450, and getting a nice burn on. So it is what it is. So, but yeah, go check out the Black Lotus stuff if you want to work on your C coding or your assembler coding, and understand how they did certain things, and it's well documented. So. What's not to love? Let me see what else. Let's see. I saw this. There was, oh no, not that. Where was it? It was something about, Microsoft changes key system. Microsoft changing signing key breached by Chinese hackers to steal U.S. government data. This came out today by Jonathan Grieg over at The Record. Microsoft announced changes to a system exploited by hackers over the last month allowed them to gain access to email accounts and spy on the inner workings of 24 organizations, including government agencies, a lawmaker's staff, and even the U.S. Congress Secretary, Gina Raimondo. So that's pretty bad. That's okay, Super Lolly. Everybody gets busy. I was just talking about that when we started the stream, that it gets you and it'll sneak up on you if you don't watch what you're doing. So I'm going to turn off my globe. Actually, let me go get it. Got the whole world in my hands. And then it just, lights up. And, oh, interesting. The refresh rate on it is such that that's interesting. Yeah, well, it is what it is. So, it's one of those things that, glows in the dark. It's supposed to be a light. My daughter got me one that's very similar. Well, not similar to this, but it's a unicorn. So I've got a unicorn over there as well next to my kawaii cat. So we're gonna have that up and running, and in various places. Need to get some shelving, maybe some like invisible shelving or something I can put up there. So yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. I put my butt on camera. Anyway, so the method by which the actor acquired the key is a matter of ongoing investigation, though the key is intended only for MSA accounts. A validation issue. Allow this key to be trusted for signing Azure AD tokens. This issue has been corrected. Oh yeah, speaking of Azure AD, it's no longer Azure, is it? It's Intra. And I don't look. I hear that. I saw that was the funny joke of the week. Yeah, here we go. Somebody thought Intra was a good idea. I'm not exactly sure why they called it Intra. It's one of those things. I think the only joke I made about it was it's one of those things where um, people don't ask the question, are they going to get made fun of? Right. Um, you've got parents and you're like, why the hell did they name their kid, Jimmy Himmy or whatever, where the name rhymes or, something like that. I got screwed because it's my last name is Break. Um, and it's alliterative, which took me till about 30 years to realize what alliterative is. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what people. I don't know what the thought process is in marketing or people when they say decide what name to go on. I don't know if they intra means something in like Latin or what have you. Um, I mean, obviously they want to expand, right? Right here, they're intra expands into security service edge, and Azure AD becomes intra ID. So there, it feels like Azure started out as a cloud company, and they're expanding into more security, stuff that's going. They want to bring it all in. So at some point, not Windows, not Office, those are still going to probably stay somewhat separate, but as they expand more out into like MSP or did they do other things? I don't know. Or IAM in this case, they needed something that was more than just Azure because Azure's a cloud company, so they had to change their name. Marketing wants to make themselves feel relevant. I don't know. I don't know. I will tell you that as I get higher up into business and less with security, I realize how much we overplay our hands in security, right? The marketing people, they know how to sell an idea or a concept or something, and we don't know how to do that, and we lose every time because if you can't put the product in somebody's hand, it doesn't matter if you're right, you're going to lose. Which is why marketing people can sell a piece of shit as fertilizer, right? We sell security as, well, I don't know what we sell it as, but it obviously falls poorly to people. Marketing people can sell shit as fertilizer and show the value in that. They already have the how we can use it, and then they figure out the product, right? And I think that's how the product management stuff goes. They have the idea, they sell the idea of how this is going to end up, and then when the tangible or the physical comes out, then they can continue trying to sell the idea. It's going to be this one day. It's going to be this one day. Security has the solution. They can't sell the idea. At least that's been my experience. I look forward to your outrage and your unhappiness. But a lot of us who are trying to get management on board with a security initiative or change, I've said this before and I'll continue saying it now that I've realized who has the real power in an organization. It's not security, it's the marketing and the PR people. And you should try to leverage them as much as possible when you're trying to, how are we going to deliver this to management? Well, you should go talk to the PR people. Getting good with them, get a rapport built up, make it so that you can help them and they can help you. Maybe it's helping them understand a topic or something for a white paper or a blog post, or tell them, hey, I want to help you work on something. I know many of us probably who watch these may not be in a place in their careers where they can do that, but it's all about making those connections, right? If you can sell the thing you have or the thing you want because you already have a solution in place, or you already have an idea for a solution, and it's easily achievable. So you need a product person to help you sell that product or make it more possible. Walt, what am I about to highlight and click on? What is this? What is this? What is this? Microsoft redesigns the iPod. I now just show money you potentially lose if we don't have this in place. Um, Super Lolly, that's a good point. Showing money we lose. How would they lose that money? Are they going to lose it in lost revenue? Are they going to lose it? Are they going to lose it in? Are they gonna lose it by there's no reputation damage. Let's just 2023. There's no such thing as reputation damage anymore. And if your third party gets breached, the chances of you going, oh well, we don't trust that company anymore because they're somebody we put a lot of money into. You're not going to turn on a dime and renegotiate a contract in the near term, unless it's like you're within 2 to 3 months and they get breached. That may be a loss of a couple $100,000. But if it's a Salesforce or something like that, you're just going to continue on business as usual because you have no choice. An EDR, an MSP may be a bit more agile where you can say, okay, yeah, you people have effed up. We're going to do this. But if you have a really embedded system like an EDR, an XDR, something like that, endpoint security, database, HR system, a Workday of sorts, those shitty companies like that. FYI, this was created by Microsoft as the marketing department was upset why they were losing to Apple. Huh. Well, let's go look at it. Okay, so I'd say they've got some I don't have any closed captions. Maybe we'll just watch the pictures as they go along. Okay, so we've got that. Okay, so they're doing that. Okay, okay. Make sure it's on brand. Okay. iPod 20. Okay. This is a few years old. Okay, 17 years old. Okay, FOB stands for full of bites. Oh, goodness. Get the most out of your music. Stars and snipes. Okay. Maximize your... Oh, wow. So you have 500 versions of that? Okay, so... okay, one sec. Let me... Oh, I thought I was pausing it. Okay, there we go. I can't guarantee this is actually going to be on there because I don't think I have the mixer and everything on. Double check. It's just music. Yeah, it's just music. Wow. Now, to be fair, if I remember correctly, XP had something similar with like multiple versions of XP. It was like 25 different versions of XP that you could have. So I'm not sure, Walt, in this case, that the marketing department was doing it. Yeah, there was like, I want to say that it really stands out. Yeah. So it was a jab, I think, on Microsoft's management. Let me see. Windows XP flavors. Let me see. Yeah, so they had professional. Oh, let me make sure my preview is correct. Okay, so they had professional, home, media center edition, tablet PC edition, starter edition, home edition. So they have several versions. Home edition, ULCPC. Yeah. Wow, that's pretty nice that the Walt. It was pretty nice that the marketing department there could beat on themselves like that. Man, remember the day when we could run a whole operating system on a 233? I think, well, now that you can run a what is it? You can run Windows 95 in a browser, so that's just how powerful the browsers are these days. But 233 megahertz. My first my first computer had 350 megahertz, I think. It wasn't even a copper mine. A copper mine was just 700 megahertz. But yeah. And they had limits to the amount of RAM you could use. So you could only have up to 512 megs of RAM, which at the time was probably a ton of money. All other starter edition was limited to 512. All other 32 bits limited to 4 gigs. That's right. And then you had like extended version RAM versions that you could use to, extend yourself up. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. So, yeah, I still believe in the next, I want to say 5 to 10 years that Windows will be completely open source. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't, because it's not a moneymaker anymore, right? There's rumors that the next version of Windows is going to go to a subscription-based model, but they've been talking about that since Longhorn, back when it was happening. Okay, well, you got me. I'm sorry. Your first computer was 1.05 megahertz. Did you overclock it or something from like 0.99 megahertz to 1.05? I remember in high school, overclocking was the new hotness. It was, you could overclock, I think, the Coppermine 700 megahertz CPU. So the Pentium 700 megahertz Coppermine were pretty good. Yeah, the Intel 3s, I think you could overclock those bad boys up to almost a gig, 1 gigahertz speed, which was unheard of at the time because of the clock speeds on those. Of course, that was when I was in high school, and I read PC Magazine like, it was the Bible or something. Apple //E. I know it's 2E. I know that. But yeah, so. And I'm streaming. I should be streaming. There I am. Let me see. Yeah. So they said the method by which the actor acquired the key is a matter of ongoing investigation. The key is intended for MSA accounts. Validation issue allowed this key to be trusted for signing AD tokens. The issue has been corrected. So, question for those people who might know. Signing keys can be used not just for, they can be used for anything, right? Not just, signing accounts or whatever, but they could could you use a driver cert as a key to sign? I'm just trying to figure out if there are different kinds of signing certs or signing keys. Like, can you use one key for everything? Like, let's say you had a driver signing key or a driver signing cert. Could you use it to sign those accounts too? I did buy an overclocker for my G's, a whole 3.5 megahertz. Yeah, I think not for Apples, but you could get like Asus motherboards or something back in the day that had the voltages clocked, and of course then to make it go to 1 gig, you had to have some good cooling. So you had the Peltier coolers, liquid cooling for your CPUs. People would like drop their entire CPU, their entire workstations into mineral oil for superior thermal, absorption, to diffuse the heat. Yeah, I mean, I seen several pictures on the ancient internets for that. So yeah. Yeah, see, so it seems like the key was intended only for certain accounts, but they were able to use the key on other things. So it doesn't feel like that there was a limitation on the use of the key or the token or the cert or whatever it is that was used to do so. So if you're here for Rust, I apologize. I probably did not turn off the hashtags for those. I was looking just today for games in Rust development, and I found what I thought was going to be a really good start. Okay, so yeah, here, getting started, learn game development in Rust. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to learn like how to develop shit in Rust. And then it was like, by the time once the page loads, connected to fonts.google APIs. Okay, yeah. There we go. So I'm like, oh, this is cool. So, I'm getting to learn about all this stuff. And I was like, well, why am I down here on section 2 getting started? Let's do the prerequisites. And it's like, okay, so you do not need to know anything about developing games in order to do this tutorial. We'll teach you about game development as you go and implement each step. However, you do need a basic level of understanding of the Rust programming language. I figure I have a basic Rust. Some signing keys can be over-permissioned. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I had assumed that there were signing keys, tokens, certs. They were all kind of the same thing. They're formatted differently, I understand, because you have, certs for email and those are different than a signing token. And, but yeah, I was wondering if there was like some kind of, format that could be used, or you could convert a cert from one to another or something like that. So anyway, so I'm like, yeah, I want to learn game development in Rust. So I'm like, okay, let me go read the introduction. And it's like, oh, okay, well, the page hasn't been written yet. All right, let me start with the game loop. Okay, great. Oh, okay. All right. Our traditional gaming program. Okay, great. Oh, so I'm seeing a lot of to-dos, and I was like, okay, so now I have to read a YouTube video or watch a YouTube video. And I'm like, why am I coming to you if, this person has a discussion about, how to do software development, and just the preview on this one was like, object-oriented design, and we're going to learn about the principles of object-oriented design. I'm like, okay, great. All right, well, let's continue on. I'll look at those later. Oh, well, here's another GitHub for entity component systems documentation. So I was like, okay, I got to go read this too. And and so, yeah, I mean, obviously, creating a project. Oh, okay, so we're going to start our game. We'll create a new Rust project. So this is how they're going to set everything up. So this is the website. I don't know what they're building yet. It says Bard character, Reaper character, Dark Dimension tile set. Looks like it might be some kind of roguelike that they're thinking about creating. Yeah, I've been to this site before, as a matter of fact, where you can get sprites and things like that. Bard character. Yeah, so here's the various Bard characters with animations. So what they're trying to do is creating a Zelda-like Ocarina of Time. No, not Ocarina of Time. Super NES game. Zelda. I probably have the ROM for it. Zedla. There we go. Link to the Past. No. Which one? Yeah. Link to the Past. Okay, so yeah, this one. Look, what they're doing looks very much like this one here. Yeah. So. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you got something like this, except probably less nicer graphics in that respect. So, oh, I remember this around. Yeah. Get that. There you go. Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah, I played this one. Okay. Sorry, kids. This is back when you had to have actual storyline instead of play. So I'm gonna go through this weekend, keep poking around on this to see what comes out of this, if it's gonna be like a Legend of Zelda kind of thing, a Link to the Past or whatever. Hey, Terror Dome, look at you! Oh my God, Cyber Viking UK, thank you so much. Yeah, I wanted to create a game. My first thought was something like Pong, like boop, 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 but I thought that might be a little too easy. But there's a lot of moving parts with regards to game development, especially in Rust. So, I mean, you have sound, window management. You have to have a UI, right? It has to be usable. There's text-only games and stuff. Like roguelikes or Amulet of Yendor, which is an old one. Amulet of Yendor, which is Rodney backwards. Kind of like a NetHack or what have you. NetHack from old timey days. yeah, something like this where you've got, text only or ASCII kind of art stuff. I don't know why it looks like this, but NetHack has very similar kind of things, where you're working on ideas like that. Um, yeah, I definitely want to, try to create some games. It might be, yeah, he didn't write this, but there's, a lot of good information here, I think, about the game loops. There's a logic there. And like we're learning with our Rust book that I've closed, but it's like the examples that we're going to learn with, and like what we talked with Digital Warhead the other day, learning simple scripts, I would imagine there's 10 or 15 concepts that you're going to use in everything. It's going to be, you're going to take input, you're going to take output, you're going to take input, you're going to store data, you're going to take input, process that, and output it somewhere. It's always going to be something like that. There's going to be some general concepts, and the idea is you're going to learn each of these things. You're going to be like, and as you're developing, what I'm hoping is that you're like, oh, well, I want to do X, Y, and Z. Well, okay, I need to take some variables. Okay, I learned how to take variables. You just, ask for input, and then it's like you're going to set that value equal to something, and then you're going to, you're going to hit submit, and that's going to, make a JDBC, or you're going to make an API call using that to your NoSQL database or your JSON file or your key value pair. It's going to append a value to your key value pair flat file or whatever for that, or you're going to search through, you're going to grep basically your flat file of key value pairs for certain things and return those values. So there's a handful. Once we learn enough Rust to get dangerous, then we can start moving through and creating things like games. And welcome to the welcome and thank you to Cyber Viking UK. I don't know Cyber Viking UK, but let's give Cyber Viking a shout out on our favorite places out there. Cyber Viking UK. I can't type for shit. Sorry. Cyber Viking UK. Boink. There we go. For coming on, I did not realize that Cyber Viking, somebody in the UK on a late Friday night was talking, and chatting. So thank you all for coming. Let me know where you're at. Let me know where you live. I live in San Diego. Just moved here about 2 weeks ago. We have some of our regulars on, CPO Parker, Super Lolly, who's in the APAC region. Very early Saturday morning for him, as a matter of fact. And Beta Wolf, who I knew in Meat Space in Seattle. So to name a few. So yeah, if you're in the UK region or in Europe, love to know about you. We have a large podcast. We have a Discord. You can join us on Discord, or you can go to www.breakingsecurity.com, where we talk about InfoSec related items. And we have a podcast, which I do promise I will put something up again once. I think we're going to do a Sunday event here with Miss Berlin and Mr. Betcher and myself, and we'll do some discussion there. So, all right, where is the bit that I was talking about? Oh, game loops. Oh, I lost the okay, gaming pad. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I don't want to go through the whole video because about 5 o'clock I need to scoot on out of here in about 40 minutes or so. But this was RustCon. I'm going to actually see when RustCon is. I'd love to go to RustCon. I'm hoping they have one here in the U.S. Let's see if they have a SoCal one, which might be cheaper for me. RustConf keynote. Oh, man, I missed it. RustConf was in May. Damn it. Okay. Oh. Well, that's not good. Would not speak at RustCon anymore. They were invited to give a keynote, only be told 2 weeks later they were demoted to a normal talk due to a decision made within the rest. Oh, so they're owning up to that. That's good. We publicly apologize for the harm we caused. We failed you. Okay. That's awesome. Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know if everybody, trusted them and it's hard to run a community. I will not lie to you. especially a diverse community that wants things a certain way. And I don't mean in any way any of the communities that I have, but like Rust or programming community, because there's a certain I wouldn't say a cultural thing, but you've got a lot of people from all walks of life. Some people are professional, some people just dabble, some people are like myself who don't know shit, but want to learn. So you can read their apology here. So we wish to close by reiterating our apology to that person. That's pretty sweet. Maybe I'll get to go to RustCon next year. So you can read her initial discussion as well. I think that's pretty cool that they owned up to their mistake. They could have just went full bore and said, yeah, piss off or whatever. So, yeah, I didn't read all of it, but and I'll go back and read some of that later. Okay. There are Rust conferences, so that's good to know. Looks like maybe there's some Rust meetups or something like that. Curated list of Rust code and resources. Oh, this is always good. Okay, so applications, audio and music, games, graphics, games. SimCity. So there's a SimCity Rust game, a renderer for Doom, Rust reimplementation of Cave Story. I haven't played that one. Minimalistic music video game, Snake written in Rust. Okay, so there's a ton of stuff out there. Here's some roguelikes, like I said, a Sokoban implementation. Maybe I'll do one of somebody who likes to run around picking up shells or something, trying to evade the crabs that are coming at them, a la Pac-Man or something like that. All right. But yeah, so I mean, are they talking about let me see, how researchers hijacked the satellite. We rely on them for communication, military activity. How long before the attackers look at the stars? Next month at Black Hat, Johannes Wilbold, a doctoral student at Ruhr University in Germany, will demonstrate how satellites can be manhandled by hackers. Hint, it's not that hard. Well, right. There's a lot of security by obscurity, but apart from that, a lot of satellites are not doing anything else to prevent misuse. Well, okay, so I can believe that because they did not build those things with the idea that they'd be attacked. Encoding overloaded. Okay. Minimize that. Some of the satellites that are in space, 10, 15 years old, or have been in development for nearly that long. I mean, having been doing a little bit in the world of trying to help secure devices and products for IoT space, there is a really long window for development. And so by the time, by the time some of these satellites have launched, there's been whole new operating systems turned over, or, there's been, new threats that have been found or new attacks that have been found, so it makes sense. They say they surveyed 19 engineers and developers representing 17 different models of satellite. Of those 17, what I haven't figured out is if he's going to present next month, why are they reporting on it now? You've pretty much told this person, okay, so they've published the white paper already. The white paper is published. So I don't have to go see the talk. This is the equivalent of watching the movie on Wikipedia. Satellites are an essential part of our modern society and contributed significantly. Hold on. There we go. In recent years, and especially in the wake of the new space era, number of satellite deployments have seen explosive growth. Despite its critical importance, little academic research has been conducted on satellite security, and in particular on the security of onboard firmware. Likely stems from now outdated assumptions on achieving security by obscurity, effectively preventing meaningful research on satellite firmware. Well, I don't know how much satellite firmware is actually publicly shared on like GitHub either. So I would imagine some of that firmware is, nice and wrapped up in some ancient, CVS or what are they? What was that? Subversion, kind of hookups. So sophisticated technical devices. Okay. Yeah, so general overview of satellite operations. So you have the user segment with the service, and then you have the space protocol going up to the space segment, and then the ISL. So they have a taxonomy of threats. So that's pretty sweet. They've got a taxonomy for artificial satellite, nanosats, like CubeSats, right? These are 10 centimeter cubes. 10 centimeters is an inch is 2.54 centimeters. So roughly 5-inch cubes. Wow, those are tiny. About 4. So satellites are about yay big, considering a cube. So you've got a cube about, yay deep, length, width, and height. So that's not a lot at all. Satellites typically weigh less than a kilogram per U, which are unit, and are used in many different projects. All right, so you've got ADCS. Wow, this is a good white paper if you want to understand how satellites work. And you might want to grab that and pull that down, in case lawyers CD, let me go ahead and grab that real quick. There we go. So they, this may not be how all of them work, but I would assume that they've simplified it enough for the layman or for us to understand in that case. So if you want to understand how satellites work from and how to hack them and the threats that are involved, I would say go ahead and check this out. And if you're in Vegas, go check them out. Tell them if you heard about the talk on my stream. Might be fun to have them on and talk about that. So satellite firmware threats. A taxonomy of firmware threats against satellites is a 3-layered representation shown in figure 3. Figure 3. Where's figure 3? Oh, that's figure 2. Figure 3. Here you go. So you have attack path. So the attack path is in dotted lines. Seizure of control or denial of service, control, malicious data interaction. Okay. So you have vulnerable TCs, which are threat TCs. If anybody knows what TC stands for, please handle TC or TM track. Okay, we're getting closer because they're mentioning TCs a lot. TC and TMs. Okay, so it has something to do with the ground segment. Right, Iridium satellites. Yes. Oh, ground station as a service model, such as those offered by Amazon Web Services and Azure. Yeah. Amazon announced that the Kuiper thing a while back. I think on Kuiper. Yeah, here you go. So they have a satellite service too called Kuiper, which is kind of looks like Starlink. Interesting. Don't know if that's available outside the United States, but you can go check that out. Launch and deployment, 77 heavy lift launches from Arianespace, Blue Origin, ULA, and options for launches with Blue Origin. Obviously, they're going to use Daddy Bezos's system, but the United Launch Alliance, yeah. Arianespace, I think, is part of French Space Agency. Arianespace. I think it means spider. 1980, 4 launchers, Ariane 5, 6 Vega, and Vega C. Yeah, French company in 1980. First commercial launch, service launch provider. Okay. All right. So wow, they beat the Falcon 9 by about 30 years, I think. If they're the first commercial launch system. So there you go. Wow. You got it's an ion thruster thing. I think that's anyway. Yeah, so there's a lot of good information here about that. vulnerable data processing, dangerous payloads, payload service denial, service info leaks, link TC fetcher. Yeah, so they're hitting pretty much every segment of the satellite stack, from, you know, all the way up from the satellite down to the stations where they're processing data, or the services that are pulling in data. And obviously, like viewers in DirecTV, which is a satellite TV company, finding some way to interrupt that signal front to a user would be very bad for, you know, DirecTV, obviously. Very cool. Com receives incoming TCs. TCs, I'm assuming must be like tactical. God damn it. Okay. I hate not knowing what a freaking acronym is. Let's go up. All right. Telecommand and telemetry. So TC and TM are telecommand and entry. So telecommand are instructions to the satellite, and in turn, satellite sends telemetry back to the ground station, or GS, providing information about status, errors, and other metrics. So there you go. TC uses a specific protocol, which we describe in 2.3. In the following, refer to a combination of TC and TM as TM-TC. Okay, so there you go. Okay, so taxonomy of threats against satellite firmware. Yeah. These have to be high availability too, because it's not like you can, I mean, the CubeSats mean that, well, if one of them fails, then another one will take over, and kind of like a mesh thing, I'd imagine. But you put a satellite up into space, you know, the first worst thing is the satellite blows up on the launch pad or during launch. You've lost all that. The next one would be getting it up there, then it doesn't turn on. And then it's like, well, okay, now we've got a nice paperweight up in the, in geosynchronous or low Earth orbit. Either way, there is some cost involved there by not doing so. So this is 19 pages. This is actually quite doable, and, you know, looks like they've done their due diligence. So that'll be fun to read that up. You can also just read the dark reading article if you wanted to check that out. The more expensive and bigger satellites, you can imagine all kinds of very specialized radiation-hardened hardware that is explicitly required when you go out a lot further into space. However, majority of satellites occupy low Earth orbit, right, which is, what, about 100 miles or something, versus several hundred miles for geosynchronous orbit. Low Earth orbit computing hardware for satellites is similar to embedded stuff. So embedded stuff, think IoT, basically. It's just the IoT is 100 miles away, up in the sky. Cheap and readily available. Some regular ARM boards, like regular embedded devices on Earth, same processor made for the motive. Yep, so they use RTOS, real-time operating systems, like VxWorks or even Linux. Free RTOS is one that you can use. Free RTOS. Yeah, so these are real-time operating systems that work with, you know, different microcontrollers and microprocessors. It's free, and I know that it runs in quite a few IoT devices. When I worked at Leviathan, we may or may not did some work on some IoT devices. I won't mention which ones. We also did comparisons of RTOS systems at the time. So yeah, Starlink. So SpaceX's Starlink satellites apparently run some kind of real-time OS. These familiar technologies open all kind of potential doors for intrusion. So yeah, if you know a system like VxWorks, which VxWorks, not Rocks, VxWorks, yeah, is another RTOS. But if there's a vulnerability in VxWorks on a terrestrial device, or in VxWorks, then you know it's all about reconnaissance, right? It doesn't matter if it's a satellite, if it's, you know, an orbital platform, or if it's, you know, I don't know, your favorite, you know, old Uber mouse or something, you know, some, you know, any IoT device here, and, you know, if there's a VxWorks vulnerability, it will affect that device and it'll affect the one in space. So yeah. Let me see, VxWorks vulnerabilities. What kind of vulnerabilities do they have? Let's go look. Sorry, Walt, you're absolutely correct. Geosynchronous is 22,000 miles up in space. That's why it is so much more expensive to go up there, because the push to get stuff into geosynchronous orbit is much different. So okay. I've never seen a 0 for a score on a vulnerability. Wind River, VxWorks 6.9 and 7 allows specifically crafted packet to be sent by a radius server calling the Nala service. So for the most part, stuff for VxWorks runs in anywhere between the 5 to 7 range. They do. Oh, here's a rare 9 point. Oh no, here's a 10. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this one's in 2013, but depending on how old the IoT device is and what industry it runs in, it could, and if they don't do updates, you could have an old version of VxWorks running an old version of SSH that is completely vulnerable. Thank you, Walt, for the correction there. I don't know why I said several hundred miles. Low Earth orbit is low Earth orbit. Low Earth orbit is 128 minutes or less. A period with 128 minutes or less. 1,000 kilometers. 1,000 kilometers is 600 miles. Wow, I actually thought it was a lot further than that, or a lot closer than that. Really? 600 miles, 660 odd miles? Wow. Okay. My bad. I totally underestimated that. Yeah, about 660 miles versus 22,000 miles for geosynchronous. But yeah, so I mean, if you find something that's been, managing a dam or, some kind of, critical infrastructure, you may have a SSH vulnerability in that VxWorks system. So, or, integer overflow in an authentication function like svc_auth. Remote RPC is enabled, allows remote attackers to cause denial of service or possibly execute arbitrary code via username and password. So, I mean, they've done pretty well the last few years. Nothing major bad. There's a bit of a gap here, 2016 to 2019. Yeah, but yeah. So I think we got off on a lot of a tangent there, talking about satellite hackings and things. But yeah, so $10,000 for a 2-meter dish. I guess that's one deterrent. You don't, unless you got $10,000 and a 2-meter dish, 6 foot long, 6 foot wide, 6.2 wide. Yeah, you can already talk to a lot of low orbit satellites. One major hurdle is timing. Satellite links are already slow. Just by the way the Earth is shaped, you can see them for 10 minutes at a time. Yeah. Tens of thousands of kilometers an hour, a LEO satellite might make its way around the Earth every 90 minutes or so. If you want to increase the time, then you need multiple ground stations. If you have enough ground stations, you can eventually talk to it all the time. But, it would take a satellite dish. It would take you to sync up with that satellite and have some kind of aperture that would, follow it along. And you would need, like they said, people all over the world that could synchronize those things. So seems like there's still a little bit of issue there, trying to make that work. So, yeah, let me double check something. Okay, we want to make sure it wasn't 4:40. Okay. Sorry, we're supposed to go to dinner. I wanted to make sure that I didn't have to get off here at about 7 minutes. So. Anybody of my 8 viewers going to Vegas? I didn't know if I guess I should have asked that question first. I'm not overly thrilled about going to Vegas, to be honest. It's going to be like 115 degrees in the shade, so I could do without going to Vegas, to be honest. But subject to the requirements of the service, if you will. So I have to go to be able to, because I'm coordinating some stuff. So maybe I'll have so much fun in the day and a half that I will have been there that it'll be like, oh, I can't wait to go next year. And then, I'll, take and, pay for that. So, let me see, we got that. Okay. So we got what to expect when reporting vulnerabilities to Microsoft. Oh, this is an interesting discussion. Oh, it was written by the MSRC folks. I thought this was written by somebody who actually reported a bug to Microsoft. So they say, here's what to expect when you submit a vulnerability. I wonder if they wrote this. They did write this today. So what I'm wondering is maybe they think that there's people don't have a realistic idea of the disclosure process. So they wrote this down. What do you expect when you submit a vulnerability? Triage. Our team will check that your report is a security vulnerability and then assign it to the relevant product engineering team, right? This typically takes 2 business days. Could take long. Yeah, 2 business days. I was going to say, if you sent it right now on a Friday afternoon, U.S. Pacific time at 4:45, nobody's going to see it until at least Monday morning. Unless they're in Asia Pacific region when it's like, Monday morning there, it'll be Sunday afternoon or evening here. If you opted in for automatic communications, you'll receive a message from our triage team when the case is either closed as non-serviceable. That's interesting, non-serviceable, or will need further evaluation. During this process, your submission will be labeled as new in the portal. If the security vulnerability you reported meets our servicing criteria, it will be assigned a case number and manager. Your case manager will oversee the assessment, the creation of a plan to address the vulnerability and answer any questions you have along the way. Our team will attempt to reproduce the reported issue and evaluate severity and security impact. This is good. Let's see. During this process, this can take 1 to 2 weeks, sometimes less or occasionally more. If you did not hear back from us within 2 weeks, please reach out. Yeah, they say it can take 1 to 2 weeks. The problem is, depending on how well you write, because your report could be written poorly or where they can't understand it, and they'll need to either ask you more questions or, just some of the testers or some of the people who are going to be evaluating this stuff may not have, because they don't want to pass something on to product teams without testing it first. So getting their hands on whatever software you had may take some time. Getting the lab set up according to the conditions that your report came in may take some time. Especially, like if you said, well, I'm running, hey, Fixit42, hello. Thank you for being a subscriber, Fixit42. Would also like to thank Cyber Viking, right, for being rating us today. That was pretty awesome. But just getting the lab or the environment set up to test the vulnerability. So you've submitted, let's say, a cross-site scripting vulnerability, and they have they could go and do the exact same thing on the public website, which I guess would work. But if there's any specific, like let's say, it's the equivalent of it worked on my laptop, but it doesn't work on the tester's laptop. So, I could submit something. I did this. Oh, I got cross-site scripting. Okay. I write this up. Oh, I got cross-site scripting. Here's the steps to repro. You send them the repro steps. They can't make it repro. If there's money riding on this, you're going to want them to do their due diligence. Because you're going to lose money otherwise. And then, of course, you're going to bitch about it on Twitter because, oh, Microsoft screwed me. I had, and it worked for me, but it didn't work for them. What you may have failed to tell them is, oh, I had this plugin, or, oh, I had my browser set this way, or, oh, I did, X, Y, and Z. So be prepared to answer questions if they come back to you because you didn't write a very good report. Or you wrote something assuming that they knew what the hell you were talking about. Oh, okay. Yeah, Digital Warhead, good dude. I'm glad you got a subscription there. Fix it. Um, I speak from personal experience about security researchers who submit reports who write very poorly, or assume we know what the hell they're talking about. I think that's the biggest issue. Yeah. So, if your case is important or critical, we'll send it to the appropriate engineering team if assessed as low or moderate by design, or an issue we've determined we will not fix. Your case will not move forward to the development stage. Instead, your case manager will reach out to you and to inform you of this decision, your case will be closed. After your case has been closed, its state will show as complete in the portal. Status of complete does not mean the reported vulnerability has been fixed. Yeah, developing a fix. This stage usually takes the longest of any while we prepare and coordinate with release teams. Yeah, I mean, you may have found something that will take months to fix, or they could be in the middle. We're going to release next week, and you just sent them a bug fix or a bug, an issue for a report. Well, it's like we're in the middle of a code freeze, or we're about to release 1.1 of our build, and that's not going to have this in here, and 1.2 is not going to come out for a few months, or we're going to have to do an out of band thing. Well, we don't know how to do an out of band thing. Well, we're going to need to create an out of band thing. The developing a fix is very difficult. The zero day initiative folks over at Google give you 90 days usually before they disclose things. So depending on who sends the report in, you come up with, you have to get, you have to get the release teams to say, yeah, this is legitimate, because you as the researcher have submitted to fellow security people who immediately, like we were talking about earlier, you have the thing, right? You have the thing, you have the nice, pretty bug product thing. Now you got to sell it to the developers. This is a problem. Developers, yeah, not so much. Oh yeah, it's a feature, not a bug. The release teams may already have, in their next sprint, a full plate. And now what you've done is you've taken a big turd and you've dropped it in their pool. Now they have to figure out, okay, can we accommodate this now? Or, we're already in the middle of another sprint, and next sprint doesn't start for 2 weeks or a month or what have you. So trying to figure out what the timeline for that is, the hard part is, I would say, between the researcher giving a report that me, the security person on the team, has now got to go and sell to the engineering teams and get the engineering teams on board with, yes, this is a legit issue. And then, yes, you must create a fix for this. And yes, you must do it within our SLA. It's complicated, being the middle person in this relationship. But yeah, this definitely takes time. It's very political at times, and I understand you want to get paid. Understand. If you have a question about disclosure during this time, please reach out to the case manager. And then the case manager has to not deal with you, but you're probably pinging them every day. Hey, where's my finding? Where's my vulnerability money? Where's my 10-point font? Where's my recognition? I'm going to be giving this talk a black hat. I'm going to need updates on this thing. This is really, really bad, that kind of thing. And of course, every security researcher, whoever submits anything to Microsoft or any of the other companies, it's already critical, right? When security researchers are allowed to set their own criticalities for things, they always want the highest possible rating. We may not see it thusly. So you may get disappointed when we go, your critical finding is actually not that big a deal. So I would say maintain realistic standards, or, be realistic in your assessment. And, make sure that you're following the guidelines, and you can call the companies on that. They should have criteria that specifies what a low, critical, high, medium, red, amber, green, blue, black, rating is. Whatever it is, whatever ratings they have, they need to have specific criteria for those things to say, if you can do X, then it's a vulnerability. If you get RCE on a device, or you get, auth bypass or account takeover or something like that, yeah, that's one account at a time, that could be a high. But if you can do it across the fleet, that's critical. it's impact, right? So, release, process, and complete. So yeah, I mean, this is really nice. I would say take a look at this if you ever been a bug bounty person or you're looking to get into bug bounties. This is pretty de rigueur for a lot of folks that that work with bug bounties or take security inputs from like security at Microsoft or something like that. I think that's security at Microsoft. If a site has a security.txt file, so like what was one I found recently? Security.txt. A lot of organizations are putting a security.txt .text file as a way. Here we go. Security text file. They're adding this as a way to do like responsible disclosure policy. So you can have here's where to contact our our people if you have a security issue, and it's usually a maintained or covered email address. PGP is definitely something you should look into because of security issues. Email's not secure, so passing it from your Gmail account to your to the Microsofts of the world or to the Fortune 10s, you do want to use some kind of encryption. You may also use something like a Google Drive and just say, hey, here's the proof of concept. I've uploaded it to my Google Drive. Here it is. If you have to use PGP and you're unused to using it, the best, I would say the user-friendliest version, I would say, is probably Keybase. Keybase.io. You can make a Keybase account pretty easily, which is, will give you a PGP key, gives you a nice way of encrypting things. So you can encrypt your report, you can encrypt your screenshots and everything into one file and then send it up, or you can follow some other method by which you're doing it. So yeah, that was a nice discussion from Microsoft on how to do that. I'd like to see other organizations write something like this. This would be nice, especially if you are a bug bounty person. And you've had your HackerOne or your BugCrowd account for like 20 minutes. You're like, oh, I've submitted something, and it's like now you've got an additional. If they're using a BugCrowd or a HackerOne or something like that, now you have an additional layer there. Microsoft looks like they take the inputs from people directly to a researcher portal, but they may be using something else. So yeah, they have bug bounty programs. So they run their own bug bounty program, obviously set up by Katie Masuris. But other companies outsource that to a BugCrowd or HackerOne or whatever. Instead of dealing directly with Microsoft people, you have to get triaged by HackerOne. HackerOne then sends it to the company security people. Company security people then go to the product team. So now you have an additional layer, an additional time limit, additional timeline that has to be met, and additional SLAs in that case. It's usually triaged twice by that time if it's a HackerOne to a company, because HackerOne wants to make sure that they're only passing along legitimate bugs to the team that they're working with, or BugCrowd are triaging those bugs, and because they don't want to send over something that can't be reproduced by the internal organization, or if they don't have the environment for it, they'll be like, okay, yeah, based on the information you've given, or can you give me some more information before I pass it along to the organization. BugCrowd, HackerOne can only do so much. If it's a web-based thing, they can look at that and do some repro steps, but their first triage is to make sure that it's not a shit report. So feel free, if they come back to you, make sure that you answer them, because you're going to lose money otherwise. And if you're, the reputation is on the line, right? If you're trying to do these things to gain reputation, to get greater rewards, you're going to have to, I don't want to say you're going to be pliant. You're going to have to be a bit flexible, a bit pliant. You're going to have to understand, maybe the way you wrote it makes sense to you, but it doesn't make sense to anyone else. So you just want to keep that in mind when you're writing up your write-ups. Try to write it like you're explaining it to your 5-year-old nephew or niece or person, pibling, one of your piblings. So, but yeah, this was a nice little write-up. Take a look at that, especially for if you're going to try to send something to Microsoft. Send something to Microsoft, it's going to be a little different. But that was a good article. I haven't seen a lot like that in the last few. Some control logic flaws in Rockwell. The rise of hassle-free and secure authentication. I thought you said 545. Oh, okay. Oh, it's in Fashion Valley? Okay. It's in Fashion Valley. Yeah.
It's going to take us like 40 minutes to get there and park.
So okay. Okay, cool. All right. Well, the boss is telling me I need to go. Apparently I didn't grok that. So I'm going to try to get something set up for Sunday evening with Miss Berlin and Mr. Betcher and myself. Otherwise, I may just be on to, bullshit and, play on some role-playing games or, talk about some shit. So hope everyone has a good day, good weekend. Take care of yourselves. I'm going to be doing more in the next few weeks. So please come by Tuesdays and Fridays around 3:30 Pacific time is when I usually stream. So come check us out. And hope y'all have a good rest of your day and weekend. And, hoist one for me when if you're thinking about me. Okay. All right. We'll talk to y'all soon. And bye y'all.